1 Timothy 5:1-16. The responsibility we have about the old and the old. 1 Timothy 5. 1. Do not rebuke the old man roughly, but admonish him as a father. Young men as brothers. 2. Old women, as mothers, as girls, as sisters, in all purity. 3. Honor the widows who are truly widows. 4. But if any widow have children, or grandchildren, first learn to exercise piety toward her own family, and to reward her parents. For this is good and acceptable before God. 5. Now she that is a widow and a helpless woman waiteth in God, and endureeth night and day in supplications and prayers. 6. But she who lives in pleasures, living is dead. 7. Therefore command these things, that they may be blameless. 8. But if a man does not take care of his own, and especially of his own family, he denies the faith, and is worse than the unfaithful. 9. Let no widow be enrolled under the age of 60, and only the wife of one husband. 10. Having a testimony of good works, if he begat his children, if he exercised hospitality, he washed his feet with the saints, if he dealt with the afflicted, and did all the good work. 11. But do not admit the younger widows, for when they become weak against Christ, they want to marry. 12. Having already condemned them for having annihilated the first faith. 13. And besides, they also learn to walk idle from house to house. And not only idle, but also parleys and curious, speaking what is not convenient. 14. I want therefore that the young women marry, bear children, and rule the house, and give no occasion to the adversary to curse. 15. For some have turned aside after Satan. 16. If a believer has widows, help them, and let the church not be overloaded, that they may become widows. 1 Timothy 5:1-16. First Epistle of Paul to the Timothy, chapter 5, verse 1-16. Dear brothers and sisters, we are studying the Epistle of Paul to Timothy in the first letter in chapter 5, where we are always surprised by Paul's instructions to Timothy. In this chapter Paul directs how to deal with older people, with older women, with older sisters, with older widows. We have to treat them as if we were addressing our mothers, treating them with all care, with all respect, and with all kindness. But Paul also guides the duties of the elderly, the widowed and the elderly, who must take good care of their families, because this is pleasing to God. But the woman widowed only in God, persevering day and night, in supplications and prayers. But the widow who wants to live in delights, trying to enjoy life. Paul says that he is dead. Paul teaches these things so that they are wise, and that they do nothing wrong, before their family, and before God. Now for us Paul says that those who do not care for their own family deny their own faith. Paul speaks to enroll a widow who is dependent on the community must be over 60, and has been the wife of one husband. It is not that they should be idle from house to house, and not be curious, and speak what is not convenient. But the new widows, Paul directs them to remarry, and to bear children, and to rule their house well. In verse 16, Paul speaks of Christians who have widowed relatives to help them, and do not overburden them in the church. And hold up those who are truly widows,